Every night, a little girl curls up on the cold metal slide of an empty playground. One evening, a wealthy businessman crosses her path, and what he learns leaves him shaken. The moonlight fell across a small figure huddled in the shadows. Sophia, just 8 years old, pulled her thin coat tighter as if it were a blanket. Her worn backpack, holding the few things she owned, rested by her side. It was the third night she had braved the October wind in Oakwood Park. "Hey kid, this isn't a place to sleep," a deep voice called out. Startled, Sophia sat up. A tall man in a tailored suit approached, his sleek dog trotting beside him. The dog's collar alone probably cost more than all the clothes she was wearing. "I'm sorry, sir. I'll go now," Sophia answered quietly, gathering her things with a calmness far beyond her years. The man was Alexander Reed, 45, the powerful CEO of Reed Enterprises. He owned half the luxury properties in town, yet his nightly walks with his dog Maximus were his only escape from endless meetings and phone calls. But tonight, instead of peace, he found a child trying to survive in his park. "Where are your parents?" he asked. Her eyes, cautious, intelligent, far too knowing for her age, met his. "My mom will be back soon," she replied, almost like she was repeating a line she'd been taught. "When did she leave?" Alexander pressed. After a short pause, Sophia whispered, 4 days ago." Something in his chest tightened. 4 days, alone in the cold. As he stepped closer, he noticed what the darkness had hidden: her neat but tangled curls, clothes that were far too small, and a faint scar above her eyebrow. Maximus, who usually growled at strangers, surprised him by gently licking Sophia's hand. For the first time she smiled, a smile that transformed her weary little face. "What's your name?" Alexander asked softly. Sophia Jackson. "And when did you last eat?" She gave a small shrug. "Yesterday, I think. I had half a sandwich." Alexander pulled out his phone, ready to call for help, but froze at her expression. She wasn't afraid. She just looked resigned, like she already knew what would happen. Officials, a temporary shelter, a new school, another move. "You've been through this before, haven't you?" he said quietly. She nodded, repeating the routine as if it were a script. Alexander wasn't known for compassion. In business, his reputation was the opposite: ruthless, calculated, unstoppable. "Business is business," he always said. Families had been displaced by his real estate empire, and he never blinked. But this girl, this child with quiet dignity, unsettled him in a way no boardroom battle ever had. "Come with me," he said at last, holding out his hand. "It's too cold to stay here." As they walked to his car, Sophia limped slightly. "My leg hurts sometimes," she explained softly when he noticed. "It was an accident." She didn't say more. At a small diner nearby, Alexander sat silently as Sophia ate, savoring every bite as though she was storing the memory for future days of hunger. Piece by piece, her story unfolded. Her mother, Lisa Jackson, worked cleaning jobs wherever she could. They had been forced out of their apartment when the building was sold to a developer. Alexander felt his stomach drop. That developer was Reed Enterprises, his company. "Where is your mother now?" he asked. Sophia's eyes locked on his, steady and searching. "She went to another city to find work. She promised she'd come back as soon as she could." Alexander Reed had never once felt guilt while signing eviction papers. But now, staring at an 8-year-old girl who had lost her home because of his empire, the true cost of his business stood before him. Sophia wasn't a statistic. She was a child forced to sleep on a playground slide because his company had taken everything. If this story of injustice and unexpected redemption touches your heart, make sure to subscribe, because what happened next changed not only a little girl's future, but also the soul of a man who believed success and compassion could never exist together. Back in his penthouse, Surrounded by glowing screens that tracked record profits, Alexander couldn't shake the image of Sophia curled on the slide. He had placed her in a safe hotel under the care of a discreet social worker, but the thought haunted him. For the first time, he began digging into the evictions his own company had carried out. "Mr. Reed, here's the file you requested," Rebecca said, setting a thick folder on his desk. Alexander's eyes locked on one address, 143 Maple Avenue, Sophia's old home. He called in his lawyer, Victor Hamilton. "What happened to the tenants there?" Alexander asked coldly. "Standard procedure. Notices. Small payouts," Victor muttered. "And when families resisted, we encouraged them. Power cuts, plumbing accidents, routine measures." "And this family?" Alexander pointed at Lisa Jackson's name. Victor hesitated. "Single mother, cleaning work, high priority removal. Greg pushed harder once we found out she had a daughter. Kids make the process faster." Alexander's jaw tightened. "A weak point?" Victor nodded without shame. "Uncooperative tenants who stand in the way of progress." The next day, Alexander drove quietly to West Side School, where Sophia was now enrolled. At recess, she sat alone under a tree, reading, occasionally glancing toward the gate, as if expecting someone. "She's always like this," said a voice beside him. A middle-aged woman wearing a school badge introduced herself. "Diana Carter, guidance counselor, and you must be Mr. Reed." Alexander frowned. "How do you know me?" "Everyone here knows Alexander Reed, the man behind the developments tearing down our neighborhoods." He lowered his voice. "I came to see Sophia. I want to help her." "Out of guilt?" Diana asked. "Yes," he admitted. Diana studied him. Lisa Jackson worked 3 jobs to keep that apartment. When she fought the eviction, the coincidences started. Leaks, shutdowns. Then Sophia was hurt during a so-called inspection. Lisa lost work while her daughter was in the hospital. Bus lines serving her block disappeared when your company's projects began. She had no chance. "Where is she now?" Alexander asked. "She left Sophia at the park while she traveled to Hampton for an interview. When she came back, police were swarming the area. Someone reported suspicious activity. Terrified they'd take her daughter away, she ran." That night, Alexander combed through file after file. Hundreds of families uprooted, entire blocks replaced by luxury buildings that often stood half empty. Then his phone rang. It was Victor. "Alex, about Lisa Jackson. Greg's concerned. He has contacts who can speed things up with child services." Alexander's blood ran cold. "Listen carefully. If anyone from this company so much as goes near that woman or her daughter, I'll personally see to it they spend the rest of their lives behind bars." The moment he hung up, Alexander dialed again. "Diana, it's Reed. I think I know how to find Lisa." 3 days later, at a small restaurant in Hampton, Alexander waited nervously. Diana arrived with a woman in a cleaning uniform. "Mr. Reed," Diana said, "this is Lisa Jackson." Lisa's eyes, identical to Sophia's, narrowed with distrust. "What does this mean? Where's my daughter?" "Sophia is safe at school," Alexander assured her quickly. "I didn't bring you here to take her away. I came with a proposal, one that will change both your lives, because for the first time, I see the truth of what my greed has done to real people." Lisa studied him, guarded but unbroken. Her gaze carried the same quiet strength he had seen in Sophia. "Please," Alexander said softly, "let me fix what I've broken." Alexander Reed spoke those words without realizing that his longtime partner, Gregory Peterson, the man behind the most ruthless evictions, was already moving in the shadows. Gregory wasn't about to let compassion interfere with profit. Meanwhile, in her small hotel room, Sophia sat at the desk drawing. She sketched herself and her mother in front of a little house, not the one they had lost, but the one she dreamed of. In the corner, almost hidden, she added the tall figure of a man with a dog. Some wounds, it seems, begin to heal long before we recognize the healing has begun. Days later, the Reed Enterprises conference hall was overflowing with journalists, shareholders, and staff. Gregory adjusted his tie with a smirk As majority partner, he had called this emergency meeting, but in reality, it was the stage for a corporate coup. "Ladies and gentlemen," Gregory began, his voice heavy with fake concern, "we must address Alexander Reed's recent emotional instability." Whispers rippled through the hall. Alexander was nowhere to be seen. "Perfect," Gregory continued. "In recent weeks, Alexander has canceled profitable projects and even reopened old eviction cases. Our stock is at risk, all because of a child he found in the street." The back doors opened quietly. Nobody noticed at first. Alexander entered, flanked by Diana Carter, Lisa Jackson, and a man with a briefcase. Gregory's voice grew louder, more dramatic. "For the good of this company, I propose Alexander step down for treatment. Here, I have a psychological assessment confirming his judgment is compromised." "Finish your sentence, Greg." The words sliced through the room. Gregory froze. Alexander was walking down the center aisle, eyes fixed on him. "Go on. Tell them how I supposedly lost my mind because I discovered that we destroy lives in order to line our pockets," Gregory stammered. "Alex, this obsession with one family—" "It's not one family," Alexander cut him off, snatching the remote. "Mr. Alvarez?" The investigator with the briefcase stepped forward and connected his laptop. "After 3 weeks of review," Alvarez announced, "I've documented 342 cases of illegal eviction tactics in the last 5 years. The screens lit up with evidence, falsified reports, doctored safety inspections, shady payments. Then came audio recordings. Gregory's voice rang out. Make them understand accidents happen when people don't cooperate." Gasps filled the room. Journalists typed furiously. "This is fabrication," Gregory shouted. "We sent copies to the Department of Justice this morning," Alexander replied coldly, "and to the SEC, since you and Victor used shareholder funds to cover these schemes." Gregory's face shifted from pale to red. "You signed those orders too. You'll go down with us." "Yes," Alexander admitted, his voice steady. "I did approve them, and I will answer for it. But unlike you, I'm here to make it right." He motioned to Lisa, who stepped forward with dignity. "This is Lisa Jackson. Her daughter Sophia slept on a playground slide because of our actions." Lisa's voice was firm. "I worked my whole life to give my child a home. You didn't just evict us. You blocked every attempt I made to start over." On the screen, a new design appeared. Not glossy towers, but family-friendly apartments. "This is Project Renewal," Alexander declared. "We will repurpose 3 luxury complexes into affordable housing, with priority for the families we harmed. Smaller profit, yes, but real lasting change." Outrage erupted from shareholders. Gregory sneered. "Don't believe this act. He doesn't care about that girl or any of you. This is guilt dressed up as charity." Diana stepped forward. "Or maybe it's what true change looks like. Real growth begins the moment someone stops denying their responsibility." Gregory's mask cracked. Red with fury, he lunged toward Alexander, jabbing a finger in his face. "You're not throwing me to the wolves just to save yourself. I'm not saving my reputation, Greg. I'm saving my soul." Alexander turned to the stunned shareholders. "The choice is yours. Continue down the same path and face lawsuits, investigations, and public disgrace, or rebuild this company with integrity." At that moment, the doors opened again. Sophia stepped in, clutching her drawing. Her eyes darted first to her mother, then to Alexander. He gently pointed toward her. "This child is the face of everyone we've hurt, and she has more courage than all of us put together." Gregory, seeing the tide turn, spat his final threat. "You'll regret this, Alex. You have no idea what you're doing." For the first time in years, Alexander smiled. "Actually, Greg, I've never been more certain." Security led Gregory out as cameras flashed. Alexander knelt to Sophia's level. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" she asked. "For showing me that it's never too late to do what's right." At the back of the hall, a reporter captured the image that would appear on front pages the next day. The once feared real estate mogul, tears in his eyes, holding a child's simple drawing. A quiet reminder that real wealth isn't measured in towers or bank accounts, but in the humanity we choose to protect. 6 months later, what the media would call the Great Awakening at Reed Enterprises had grown into a national movement. The company's stock had dipped, then stabilized at a humbler but healthier level. Where luxury condos once stood half empty, the Oakwood Gardens complex now thrived. Families of all backgrounds filled the community. Children's laughter echoed through a new playground at its center. "It's amazing what 6 months can do," Diana said as she walked beside Alexander. Now the director of the Reed Foundation for Fair Housing, she oversaw the transformation of properties once built on suffering into affordable homes. "It wasn't easy convincing the board," Alexander admitted. "Some still think I've lost my mind." "Going on as before," Diana replied. "That was insanity." Alexander smiled as his eyes landed on Sophia. She was teaching a clapping game to 2 younger children, her beaded braids swinging as she laughed freely, a joy that months ago seemed impossible. Nearby, Lisa Jackson stood confidently addressing residents about job opportunities. Once exhausted and cornered, she now managed the foundation's employment program with authority and pride. Just then, a limousine pulled up. Gregory Peterson, shackled and escorted by federal agents, was led past the playground. His eyes darted between the buildings, the families, and finally to Alexander. "Is this your legacy, Alex?" he sneered. "Turning our empire into subsidized housing?" Alexander's voice was calm. "We built an empire on suffering. Now we're building something that lets me sleep at night." Gregory's gaze hardened as he spotted Lisa and Sophia approaching. "So it's because of them? You gave it all up for a cleaning woman and her kid?" "No, Greg," Alexander replied, placing a hand on Sophia's shoulder. "I gave it up because of me, because I finally decided what kind of man I want to be, because I learned that true success isn't measured in dollars." The agents took Gregory away as Lisa asked quietly, "And the investigations?" "They're moving forward," Alexander said. 32 families already compensated, another 170 cases under review. "And your charges?" Lisa pressed. "Reduced, but not erased. I'll face fines, maybe community service. Nothing compared to what Greg faces." Weeks later, a bright banner read, "Sophia Jackson Community Center, Opening Day." Crowds gathered to celebrate the new hub for housing aid, job training, and legal support. Sophia, wearing a yellow dress that shone like sunlight, cut the ribbon beside Alexander. Photographers captured the moment. The hardened mogul who once destroyed lives now smiling next to the little girl who sparked his transformation. "You know what I like best about all this?" Sophia asked as they walked through the center together. Alexander looked down at her. "What?" She smiled, clutching his hand. "Now, nobody has to sleep on a slide again." "What?" "No one else will have to sleep on a slide." That night, after the celebrations, Alexander sat alone on a park bench, the very place where it all began. The old rusted slide was gone, replaced with new playground equipment as part of his initiative to restore public spaces in struggling neighborhoods. Lisa found him there, sitting quietly beneath the stars. "I thought you'd be celebrating with your new partners," she said. "I needed a moment to reflect," Alexander replied, moving aside so she could sit. "Before that night, I thought success meant taking more than we need, even if it meant others had less than they deserved." Lisa studied his profile under the park lights. "And now? Now I know true wealth isn't about money or buildings. It's about how our choices affect other people." He turned to her. "When I found Sophia, I thought I was saving her. What I didn't realize is that she was saving me." At that moment, Maximus, his loyal German shepherd, came trotting across the grass. Behind him was Sophia, barefoot in her pajamas, having slipped away from her babysitter. "You should see the playground at night," she announced, plopping down between them. "It's way cooler when it's empty." Alexander laughed, a genuine laugh, one that came more easily these days. "Some lessons," he said softly, sharing a glance with Lisa, "require very special teachers." The three of them sat together, looking up at the night sky. In that quiet moment, Alexander understood. Sometimes we have to lose everything we thought we wanted to discover what really matters. A little girl sleeping on a playground had taught him more about humanity, justice, and purpose than decades of building an empire. If this story touched your heart, make sure to subscribe for more tales that reveal how unlikely encounters can change lives and remind us that our most vulnerable moments often lead to our greatest redemptions.